A moment no one expected, when strength finally spoke through tears. What was meant to be a routine promotional appearance, carefully scheduled, professionally managed, and emotionally neutral, suddenly transformed into one of the most unforgettable moments fans had witnessed in years. There were no dramatic announcements prepared, no shocking headlines planned, and certainly no intention for emotions to spill beyond control. And yet, within minutes, the atmosphere shifted so profoundly that it left an entire room, and eventually millions online, completely stunned. The event began like countless others before it. Bright studio lights, polite introductions, familiar smiles. A conversation designed to promote a recent collaboration unfolded smoothly, following a script that everyone expected would end without incident. But what no one anticipated was that the most powerful story of the day would not come from the project being promoted, but from a raw, unscripted human moment that unfolded live before the cameras. Within hours, social media was flooded with reactions. Clips spread rapidly, accompanied by captions filled with disbelief, empathy, and emotion. Fans were not reacting to a scandal or a controversy, but to something far more rare in the entertainment industry: authenticity. At the center of it all was Ahn Eun-jin. The image the world knew, Ahn Eun-jin as the symbol of quiet strength. For years, Ahn Eun-jin has been admired for a very specific presence. On screen, she is composed, restrained, and emotionally layered. She is known for portraying women who endure hardship without spectacle, characters who carry pain silently, whose strength lies not in grand gestures but in quiet persistence. Whether she is playing a woman navigating emotional isolation, surviving loss, or rebuilding herself after trauma, Ahn Eun-jin has always delivered performances that feel deeply internal. Her acting rarely relies on explosive emotion. Instead, it lives in subtle glances, controlled pauses, and expressions that suggest entire stories beneath the surface. Off-screen, she has cultivated a similar image. Calm. Professional. Reliable. Someone who does not complain publicly, who does not dramatize her struggles, and who rarely allows the public to see anything beyond composure. That was precisely why what happened next shocked everyone so deeply. When composure cracked, tears that were not part of the script. Midway through the event, the conversation turned reflective. Ahn Eun-jin was asked about her experience working on the project, specifically, the emotional demands of her role. At first, her response was measured and polite. She spoke about challenges in a general sense, smiling softly as she always did. But attentive viewers noticed something subtle, a hesitation that lingered just a bit too long, a pause between sentences that suggested she was choosing her words carefully. Her voice remained steady, yet there was a tremor beneath it, barely perceptible but unmistakable. As she continued speaking, that tremor grew stronger. She attempted to brush off the difficulty, attributing it to fatigue, to long filming days, to the natural pressure that comes with emotionally heavy roles. The familiar smile appeared again, as if to reassure everyone that she was fine. But she wasn't. Without warning, her eyes welled with tears. Her composure collapsed in a way that no one, least of all herself, seemed prepared for. She tried to regain control, turning her head slightly, inhaling deeply. But the emotion surged faster than she could suppress it. This was not a performance. This was not a polished, cinematic cry. This was raw, unfiltered emotion from someone who had been holding too much for too long. The unspoken weight behind the tears. As Ahn Eun-jin struggled to compose herself, the room grew quiet. Cameras continued rolling, but the usual hum of professional energy vanished. Something deeply human had entered the space, and everyone felt it. Later, many would speculate about what triggered her breakdown. But the truth, as became clear in that moment, was not tied to a single question or comment. It was the accumulation of pressure, emotional labor that had never been publicly acknowledged. Ahn Eun-jin had spoken briefly about the intensity of the role, about how deeply she immersed herself in the character's pain. She admitted that there were moments during filming when the emotional weight followed her home, when she found it difficult to separate herself from the story she was telling. Yet, even as she spoke, she minimized her experience. She smiled through discomfort. She downplayed exhaustion. She did what so many in the industry are conditioned to do: endure quietly. And then, unexpectedly, someone interrupted that pattern. Jang Ki-yong breaks the silence. Instead of allowing the moment to pass, instead of steering the conversation back to safer territory, Jang Ki-yong spoke. His voice was calm, but there was a firmness in his tone that immediately commanded attention. He did not speak over Eun-jin. He spoke for her in a way that acknowledged what she herself had been reluctant to say. He talked about her dedication, about how she stayed behind after filming, revisiting scenes, questioning her performance even when everyone else believed it was already exceptional. He spoke about moments when she doubted herself, despite delivering work that impressed the entire cast and crew. Then came the words that changed everything. He thanked her. Not casually, not politely, but sincerely and publicly. He thanked her for carrying emotional weight that was never visible in the script, for bringing depth to scenes that would not have worked without her vulnerability, for showing him, as a fellow actor, what true commitment and honesty looked like. He admitted that there were scenes he struggled with, scenes that only succeeded because of how fully she gave herself to the role. It was an acknowledgement rarely heard in public, especially from a male co-star, especially in an industry where emotional labor often goes unnamed. When being seen becomes overwhelming. That was the moment Eun-jin broke completely. The tears came without restraint. Her hands trembled as she tried to cover her face, overwhelmed not by criticism, but by recognition. She turned away from the cameras, but there was no hiding the depth of her emotion. For a long moment, she could not speak. When she finally did, her voice cracked as she confessed something deeply personal, that she often felt invisible in her efforts. That she was used to being strong, to meeting expectations without complaint, to carrying pressure alone. Hearing someone articulate her struggle, out loud, in front of others, was not just validating. It was disarming. She wasn't just crying because she was grateful. She was crying because she felt seen. A quiet act that spoke louder than words. What happened next left an even deeper impression. Without hesitation, Jang Ki-yong stood up and walked toward her. In an industry where every movement is scrutinized, where physical distance is often maintained to avoid rumors or misinterpretation, his action was quietly defiant. He did not embrace her dramatically. He did not make a speech. He simply stood beside her. He positioned himself in a way that shielded her slightly from the room, offering presence rather than performance. It was a gesture of support that required no explanation. The room fell silent. No one interrupted. No one rushed to fill the space with words. The moment did not need commentary. Why this moment resonated so deeply? As clips of the incident spread online, reactions poured in from fans, fellow actors, and industry observers. Many admitted they had never seen a male co-star publicly acknowledge emotional labor with such sincerity. Others said they cried along with Eun-jin, recognizing their own experiences in her tears, the exhaustion of always being strong, the loneliness of carrying pressure without acknowledgement. What began as celebrity news quickly became something more universal. This was not about romance. This was not about rumors. This was about empathy. Beyond entertainment, a human conversation. As discussions continued, many pointed out that the most powerful aspect of the moment was its ordinariness. There was no dramatic confession, no sensational twist. Just one person recognizing another's humanity and choosing to honor it publicly. Fans began rewatching scenes from the project, noticing details they had overlooked before. The pauses, the restrained expressions, the emotional honesty that now felt even more profound. Some speculated about the nature of their relationship. Others urged restraint, reminding viewers not to romanticize vulnerability. Yet most agreed on one thing. Whatever their relationship may be, it was rooted in respect and emotional intelligence. Breaking an industry pattern. In the days that followed, insiders shared that this behavior was not entirely surprising to those who worked closely with Jang Ki-yong. He was known to be observant, quietly considerate, someone who checked in on colleagues without drawing attention to himself. Still, his decision to be that open, that public, was rare. It challenged long-standing norms about professionalism, masculinity, and emotional expression in the entertainment industry. Norms that often discourage empathy in favor of image management. Eun-jin's message afterward. In a follow-up message to fans, Eun-jin expressed gratitude not only for the support she received, but for the lesson she learned. She wrote about the importance of allowing oneself to be seen. About the danger of carrying everything alone. About how strength does not mean silence. Her words resonated deeply with fans who felt pressured to remain composed no matter the cost. The meaning that remains. This moment will not be remembered because it was shocking. It will be remembered because it was honest. And Jin's tears were not a sign of weakness, but a release. Jang Ki-yong's action was not heroic, but human. In a world filled with scripts, schedules, and carefully curated images, the most unforgettable moments are often the ones no one plans. Moments when someone says, without spectacle or agenda, "I see you," and means it.